welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Monika and this is episode 35. I do have quite a lot to show this week. I kind of had a bout of casting on way too many projects, but I was very excited. The heat wave finally died down last week and that meant it was finally temperatures that was actually livable, and I was able to cast on quite a few new projects, and yeah, I don't have any finished objects this week. But let's start with what I'm wearing. This is a t-shirt I knit last year. It was either the very first or at least one of the first t-shirts I ever knit. It is made out of a yarn called Vårsøg, which was bought at Coop, at least it said so on the label. This was yarn that I was gifted from my grandma, by my grandma. There were no names on the label when it came to the colorways, so I just have this blue and lilac light purple color. Yeah, this was this was the first garment construction I ever did. I knit a few t-shirts before I started knitting sweaters, and there are quite a few things I would have done differently if I had known better. Even though I haven't knit for quite a lot of years, last year was the first time I started knitting garments. So yeah, I was a bit afraid that since this is made out of cotton, I think it's 100% cotton, that I wouldn't be able to get it over my head. So I knit a few rounds back and forth to kind of get this kind of like a collar, I guess, but I was planning on like attaching them together to get a tiny keyhole detail, but I never did. I've been way too lazy to do it now, and to be honest, I don't mind. It's been quite... It gives a very relaxing vibe. Also, I tried to do some jogless stripes, because since it's knit back and forth here, this was the beginning of round, and for some reason I didn't think that I could just change where the beginning of round is. I don't know why. I was probably too set in my ways and like, yeah, that's the beginning of round, I don't want them to look different, but I could have like started the row over here and nobody would have noticed the jogs there. But you live and you learn. So yeah. I don't think there's anything more to say about this t-shirt. I mean, it's very comfortable. This is one of the few knits I actually chuck in the washer. And I don't necessarily treat this t-shirt very nice. I wash it with normal laundry and I hang it to dry. I know, gasp. And yeah, I think it held up quite well. And I do like this type of fit, it suits me quite well. And I do like the stripes. And the bottom of the t-shirt is also purple, because I had a lot more purple left than blue. So when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to make the whole t-shirt striped, I stopped at some point and just knit plain blue and then purple. So yeah. Normal bind off, normal cast on, nothing special. Just plain stockinette. I did do raglan increases with yarn overs first, and then I was a bit self-conscious if I wanted those to continue under the arm, so I just changed it to a different type of increase. I think I did that right before the stripe, so it kind of has a natural place where it changes, in my opinion at least. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go through the things you have seen before, just to get them out of the way, because I don't think I've done a lot on them at all. Actually, I'm pretty certain I haven't touched them. I was too focused on new knits to actually do any of the old ones, I guess. I only have 3 projects technically that are like old ones. Sorry, I needed some more space to actually have the basket in front of me, because I'm surrounded by knitwear. But yeah, I think I'll start with this one, and I'm just gonna move this yarn out of the way. This is my green cable knit sweater. It doesn't have a name yet. This one is going to be the same back and forth, so there's no right or wrong side when it comes to this one. Last time I did finish a sleeve, and I hadn't yet started on the second sleeve. I hadn't even picked up the second sleeve. Now I have picked up, but that's all I did. I haven't even knit a row. I only picked up the stitches that was on hold, and like got myself ready, I guess, and then just decided I didn't want to knit on this project right now. And that happens. So yeah, it's knit out of Lille, Rille thick merino in the colorway Misty Mountain. It is a sock yarn, it's DK sock yarn. So I do hope this one will kind of hold up a bit better than the last version I knit. Even though I love it, it pills like crazy. So I kind of feel like I always have to depill it, and that's it's a bit annoying. Sorry, I just realized I hadn't moved the stitch marker from last time. So I'm just gonna move it over to the other arm so it's ready for when I actually start working on it. So yeah, it's this very cute little flower. I have no idea if you're able to see it at all. It's very cute. So give me a moment, I will get this one situated. Oh, I did that wrong. Go on. I don't want to split the yarn. That's not good. No, I keep splitting the yarn. Come on. Do as you're told. There you go. So yeah, I did mark all the decreases on the sleeve with stitch markers, except the very last one, just because I ran out of stitch markers, or maybe I did that afterwards. Ah, I did add it afterwards. And then at first I did try to just go straight into the ribbing, but it looked very messy, so I did one row of normal knitting and then a purl row, and I think I did another row of knitting and then went into the ribbing. Yeah, it looks like that. Yeah, and that made it look very neat and tidy. And also in the second row of knits I decreased, and I think I decreased from 3 to 2 stitches, so every other stitch I knit together. Yeah, that looks about right. Yes. I had checked with the last pattern, and that's the kind of cuff I like, because it will sit quite tight around my wrists, and I do admit I have very small wrists, so it might be a bit too tight for other people, but the rate of decreases, you can just change it. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more to say. Yeah, hopefully next time it will have both sleeves. I am hoping I have enough yarn to do both the sleeve and the collar and the hem, but if I don't have enough for all of them, I do have a backup plan. I do have several backup plans. At the moment I'm considering just ordering more of this yarn because I like it so much, but then I kind of feel like I can't just order one skein. It feels kind of wasteful to order something online and not get a proper project's amount. I very rarely order yarn online. I usually buy it in person. Mostly because I want to feel the yarn before I commit to it, but also because I just don't like to pay for shipping. And I also don't want to overspend just to get the shipping for free. So yeah, it's a difficult situation to be in. And also where I live, usually there aren't free shipping anyway, but it does have like a standard capped price usually. So at least for yarn, it's not big enough or heavy enough to justify charging extra, I guess. Yeah. I have several ideas to fix it if I end up with too little yarn, but to be honest, I do think and I do suspect I have enough yarn. I've worked on it so long, and if it turns out I can't even finish it when I'm working on it, I think that's the reason why I haven't worked on it as much as I should or could have. Anyway, next two projects, I don't think I've touched them either. I'm gonna show the first one without removing it from the basket, I think. This is my Seascape stole. It is really beautiful. I really love it. I want to knit more like this. And recently I've got a bit on the fence with this one, not because of the pattern or the yarn, but because I suddenly realized I would very much like a little handkerchief or something in this yarn, but if I'm using it all in this project, I won't have any left. The dilemma. But I do think I'm just gonna finish this one. The reason why I haven't worked on this one is because this one really requires some concentration. I can't just sit down and do other things while I'm doing this. This is something where I'm only following the pattern and I'm doing it row by row, and the only time I can do anything different is on the back when all I'm doing is purling. So every other row is super concentrated and the other row is barely paying attention. So you kind of have to be in the right mood and like either just listening to something or having some kind of TV in the background where it doesn't matter if you miss some of the plot. So yeah, I do very much love this pattern. I keep forgetting who wrote it. I think it might be Kieran something. That's probably not correct. The information will be in the description and also in this corner over here when I start talking about each project. So yeah, this is going to be lovely. The second project I have, or the third project technically, I have in this basket, but the last one I'm going to show, because it's the last one in the basket, is my red t-shirt. Or red shirt. I haven't quite decided whether or not I'm going to have long sleeves or not. I do have enough yarn for long sleeves, but this is light fingering weight. This is Strikkekista Potensial in the colorway Lollipop, and I realized I forgot to say what yarn I used for the Seascape stole. This is Hanna by Permin. I do not have the colorways in my head, but this is the light blue one, and the other ones I have are light green, but I think they're very faded or something, because they look very similar. So I think the colors might have faded. Maybe they was in the store for quite a while. Maybe they've been exposed to sunlight. I don't know. These colors are too similar for me to... I wouldn't have noticed the difference if it wasn't for the label. But of course, now that I know there's a difference, I see the difference, and it actually shows up better on camera than in real life. The difference, I mean. But yeah, this is my red sweater. t-shirt, sweater, don't know. I was hoping to be done with it this summer, but it was too hot to knit when it was actually hot. And I haven't been quite motivated to work on it afterwards, because in my head I'm thinking like I'm not going to use it until next year, which is silly because clearly I can use it all year. It would even be a very nice Christmas sweater if I just could get around to actually knitting it. I think the reason why I don't knit so much on it right now is because even though it is stockinette and therefore a non-thinking project, the stitches are very small and I have to keep my tension correctly. And if I don't pay attention, I have a tendency to knit into the stitch below or accidentally skip a stitch, which is very annoying and kind of scares me when I lose a stitch. So yeah, but I do very much like this project. I do even think I forgot to change the stitch marker last time. No, I didn't, because I hadn't knit on it last time either, probably. So yeah, I don't think I have anything more to say about this. Actually, it's been a while since I've talked about the construction. I started it flat and knit back and forth to get this neckline. And while I also did that, I also started to increase for the shoulders. So this is kind of like a faux saddle shoulder kind of construction. I guess it's called contiguous construction. I saw a picture of a different knitted sweater or something and thought it looked interesting, and also thought I could recreate it without a lot of effort, so that was what I did. And then when you have the width of the body, you just increase for the sleeves. So you kind of like knit, increasing on either side of that kind of saddle, and then you start increasing on the other side, so it goes down instead. And yeah, I think it looks very neat, very nice. And yeah, I just have to work on it. There's not a lot more to say. Doing the knitted double folded collar was really, really hard, both on my hands and everything else, because I went down a needle size for the ribbing, and to be honest, it was really difficult to work with. And when I did do the bind off and sewed it down, I did that at the same time, but I hadn't heard at the tips that you should like increase one of your needles so that when you bind off looser. So I obviously bound off way too tight, and then I had to like weave a strand of yarn through where I already had knitted down to kind of like loosen the old stitches, because I didn't want to bind off again because it was such a pain. So yeah, that was the best solution for me. I guess if I had done it again, I probably wouldn't have done it because it actually took longer than I thought it would, but also the bind off took way too long, so yeah, I just didn't want to do it. But I'm very pleased with how it looks, so it was worth the effort now, though I didn't think so at the time. So yeah, but it looks very nice, very neat. Can't wait to block this and wear it, but that's a later problem. Yeah, I just had to check. I can see that my stitch gauge has actually changed a little bit, but only in the back, and it's probably because I was knitting back and forth. So I was knitting quite tight over the neck, because after that it's quite consistent and it looks the same as on the front. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that project. I really do like it. I just lost a bit of steam, I guess, which is probably why I started casting on so many other projects. Okay, I'm gonna start with what I have on the table, I think. I can start with those that have the least amount of progress. I cast on a new t-shirt. This is the third, technically fourth, one I've cast on. So this is going to be another navy t-shirt, but this one is going to be striped. I haven't gotten to the part yet where I'm going to actually start striping it, because I'm not going to start striping it until after I'm done with the increases and have split for sleeves. I have a different t-shirt where I did do the stripes after I did the increases, and it looks very nice, and I kind of want to recreate that, but also have a v-neck. This is made up of Untold yarn, cotton merino in the colorway Deep Sea. And I have continued doing these very nice increases for the raglan, which look kind of like arrows from, down the front and or back of the shoulder. And I really do like that style. And I really do have to get a move on this one, because in a few weeks I'm going back to the choir, and I still haven't gotten a new black t-shirt for our concerts. And these are the only needles I use for these types of projects, so I really do have to get these off the needles relatively soon, so that I can cast on a black one. The black one is going to be round instead of v-neck, and also long sleeved. So technically not a t-shirt, but the same pattern, just long sleeved. I do have to figure out something to do with the arms, because it's quite fitted at the top, but obviously it will then be quite a lot bigger around the... Wow, what's that word in English? The cuff will be a bit too wide, so I have to do some decreases, or maybe do some rapid decreases just around wrist. That's the word I'm looking for. Just around the wrist. It's just totally slipped my mind. I guess that's something that happens when you speak too many languages, I guess. I could only remember the Norwegian word and the, for some reason, Swedish word. Who knows? And nynorsk. So yeah, you know. Anyway, I am getting off topic. I need to get this one done so I can start on the black one, so it will be done before the first concert, and I'm not 100% certain when the first concert is, but I do know we have a Christmas concert, so at least I need to have it done by then. Yeah. Don't think there's a lot more to say about this project. I am finally going to put this in my knitting basket. Oh no, the yarn keeps falling apart. It is like a complete mess now. It's my own fault. I've been keeping this in a bag and pulling it out and putting it in again. It was bound to happen. Okay, but I'm putting this away because I want to show the last summer projects. I have two white garments that I knit for summer, both of them in this very pretty lace pattern, which I have now started a new panel of, which is very difficult to show because it wants to curl. This time I am planning on making a... I don't know what to call it. It's kind of like a t-shirt, but you knit the front and the back the same and attach them over the shoulders. The only thing is, I think it's still too long. I have already ripped it out once because I only want it to kind of be attached barely in the corners, but I do think that if I do that now, it might slip down. And I don't want that. So this one I might have to restart with one less repeat, which isn't a bad thing, to be honest. So it will be more like one less repeat, so it will kind of start here instead. Give me a moment. Yeah, that might be working better. Because I'm going to knit it like without an increase in the side until you get down here, and then start increasing so it will fit under the arms. And I want the front and the back to be the same. But I have thought that perhaps instead of knitting the back and the front separate and then attaching them in the round, I can start in the round, so I kind of have the circumference at the beginning kind of correct, and then split and knit one of each, I guess. I'm kind of thinking that might be the best solution. Also, I'm not 100% certain if I like the way the fabric curls on the sides. It's because of the lace, it kind of wants to follow the lace pattern. But I'm kind of thinking if I did do some pearl bumps, or no, seed stitch, that's the thing. I have seed stitch details on the other two garments too, so it would be a nice way to tie them together if they had the seed stitch at the end and then increase to get it under the bust or under the arm. I think that would be the best way to do it. So this one I am actually going to frog and restart, but I might not do it straight away. I kind of lost steam on it. I worked on this for a day and then I was like, I'm not into this anymore. So I do think I'm going to frog this after I have figured out how many stitches I'm going to need for knitting it in the round, and I'm going to note it down so I have it for later. I think that's the best way to do it. Since this wasn't quite working out anyway. But the lace pattern is very, very pretty. And now you kind of get a tiny view, I guess, into how I work up my own patterns. You kind of just have to start and see if it works out and then revisit it at some point. Sometimes you don't realize it doesn't work out until you have knit quite a few rows, which I guess is why I lost steam on this, because I was like, it's too wide and I don't like knitting the front and the back separate, and also I very much want to knit something else, which I'm going to show you now. Actually, I think I'm going to save that for last, because I do have a few other projects that I have mentioned before and I really do want to show them first. I have this project that I have started previously this year, but I didn't like the gauge, so I ripped it out, and I didn't start it again right away because I kind of lost motivation. But I did set the yarn aside because I did know I wanted to knit it. And it is this Slippy V inspired pattern. The Slippy V pattern is by Steven West, but I don't have that pattern in my library. I just saw a picture of it and thought it was amazing and wanted to recreate it, so that was this shawl behind me. That's, as far as I know, quite close to replicating it, but in a thicker weight. And after doing that, I figured I wanted to do some small changes, so I'm doing more, or at least I'm doing in Tarsha, to get these two stripes on either side without the stripes with this slip stitch pattern. I'm gonna have to get it closer to the camera if you're gonna see it. Yeah, I haven't gotten very far with the slip stitch pattern, but so far I am very pleased, and I do like the changes I did. The first time I knit it, I did more rows in between the stripes, and I also did the same as you can see at the top here, stripes all the way through, which I didn't want this time, and also the gauge was too small, in my opinion. I knit them originally on 2 millimeter needles, and I was looking at it and thinking the broken rib looked good, but the V-stitches did not. In this case, I think perhaps the broken rib looks a tiny bit messy, but the V-stitches really do look very good. So I'm hoping the broken rib will kind of block out nicely. And also I think I do get a better separation between the I-cord edge and the broken rib, because before, when I used smaller needles, the one purl bump row, the broken row, between here kind of blend in together with the first column with knit stitches, and it gets a better separation now, so it kind of looks neater that way. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it never is, so all in all I'm very happy. The back doesn't look the best, and also I made a mistake because I forgot I could that I didn't need more than 2 ends to do the intarsia, because on the rows where you don't do the stripe, you just do the first one all the way over and then do the intarsia on this side. But I forgot that, so I thought I needed 3 skeins of this main color, and therefore I split the skein into one smaller ball and one big ball that I was thinking I had to use both ends of, but I could just have used both ends of one big ball instead. That's on me. When I run out of this main color, because I'm going to use a lot more of that main color than the green color, I will switch to a different skein. I can't even see where I put it at the moment. Oh yeah, here it is. This one. These two are the same yarn. This is Life in the Long Grass. All the color names will be in the description. I can't be bothered to remember all of them because there are four colors. Though I do remember that this pink is Angel City because I used it in a pair of socks as just 2 contrasting stripes because I desperately needed some change. And this green one is Green Honeydew. I do actually remember the rest too. The darkest one is Girly Tomato and the other one is... No, I don't remember that one. Anyway. So that's this project. I work on this when I want to work on intarsia. And therefore it hasn't gotten as much love as a few of the other projects. Also, striping and doing intarsia and all of that in the same project. This is a very involved project. It doesn't necessarily take a lot of effort, but you kind of have a bit of yarn management and a bit of remembering to do the increases when you're supposed to do them. And I could, of course, have put in a few stitch markers to mark where I'm doing the broken rib and where I'm doing the striping part. But also you don't necessarily need that because you always have a yarn hanging out showing where you changed, so you get reminded to check. I am looking forward to this project being a lot bigger because you kind of change the sides all the time, and doing that kind of, in my opinion, breaks the flow. I like it when you just knit and knit and knit and knit and suddenly you're at the end and then you change the side. So yeah. But I am very pleased with this, so hopefully I will get back to it quite soon. I mean, it's only been a week since I started it, so less than a week. The other project I have on this kind of table thing is finally the baby blanket I wanted to start. And I am very pleased with this combination. It looks very good. This is Fosenfarger in 3 different colors, but there were no color names on the label, so I've just been calling them green, blue and yellow. So yeah, I was planning on using more colors for this blanket, but I kept thinking that there was one color odd out, and depending on which color I added in, it was a different color that was kind of not fitting in as well. So I decided to do the 3 colors that I knew would fit together regardless, and just do them. So this is the feather and fan baby blankets, and it's a very easy pattern to memorize, at least in my opinion. It's 4-row repeat that you do 3 times, and then it gets broken up by a garter stitch portion. The pattern is free on Ravelry, so you know, run and get it. It is a very enjoyable knit. It's going so fast. I think I only knit on this a few hours. I just knit on it one day, and yeah, it's a tiny bit of yarn management with this one too, but that's just because you knit so fast that you have to change colors, so you just have to have all the yarns next to you. And I don't use project bags, so they're not in a project bag nicely contained, so that is why I kind of have a table where all the yarn just stays. Technically it's a tray, so I just bring the tray around when I want to work on this one, or I just sit here in my office. So yeah. I was a bit worried when I started that project that it wouldn't get it done for October, because this is going to be a gift. And for some reason all the babies are coming in October. And I was really worried that I wouldn't have enough time, but when I saw how much I could do in just a day, I'm not as worried anymore. It kind of flew by. It's fingering weight yarn, but I'm using 4mm needles, so it's very like airy and drapey and in general just beautiful. And it's made out of superwash yarn, and I also think there might be some nylon in it. I have forgotten. Yeah. No, I do think it's nylon in it, so it will be like slightly more hard wearing. And I am going to wash it in the washing machine to see how it holds up before I give it away, so that I can tell the parents you can wash it in the washing machine without worrying at all. So yeah. Maybe I'm gonna knit a tiny little swatch and put that in the washing machine first, just in case. It would be a shame if it got ruined, but then again, it didn't serve its purpose if it can't be washed in the machine, so. Yeah. So yeah, now I'll have one more project to show. Very last one. And this one I have tried so hard not to cast it on, because I knew it was going to be the one thing I would work on. And I actually cast it on just 2 days ago, and I love it. It's the only thing I want to work on, and it's probably going to be done before everything else. So yeah, this is my second Seascape sweater, or pullover. I think the pattern says pullover. It's I have forgotten it's Andrea Yetman who wrote this pattern for Biscuit Yarn at some point, and then it got available on Ravelry for free. And I guess the pattern is probably a few years old or something, that's why it got out for free, or something other. I did do the same thing I did last time, because this is the second time I'm knitting this pattern. I'm knitting it way off gauge. This time I'm actually knitting it in the size 1 and hoping to get the size 3. If I don't get the size 3, this is probably going to be given away, I guess. I am using, again, a bunch of leftover yarn, because that's just how it works when I have leftover yarn in this thick wool kind of thing. All I want to do is knit this sweater, because I just love it so much. So yeah, the brown color, it is Rauma Fivel. None of the yarns are the same thickness. I just took them based on color and what I had in stash. The green one is Rauma Tretråds Strickegarn, which is technically a lot thinner than the Fivel, but holding it with the same needles, it wasn't a problem at all. And then this turquoise color is Rauma Me Too. For some reason, almost all of this yarn is Rauma. And when I started knitting on this, I was thinking maybe I can get away with just this one ball of dark green Rauma Tretråd Strickegarn. But that's not very realistic, and I wanted to get more yarn out of my stash. So I was like, I also have this one skein of Per Gynt from Sandnes Garn. And if I use these 3 colors and alternate them, I also get a more interesting texture, because every time this color shows up, it's going to point a different direction. And in case I do get run out of any of these colors, I do have a few others that are similar but not the same, and will continue to give it that kind of like leftover yarn, scrappy but not too scrappy feeling. At least that's what I'm hoping. I am not sure if I have enough of the Rauma Fivel, this brown color, but I'm also thinking with all the stripes and all, it won't show up if I have to buy more of it. And I will hold off buying more of this brown until I know that I'm going to need more, because this is a scrappy project. I want to get this yarn out of my stash. So yeah, that is the plan. And I am very, very, very happy. It looks so good. I just can't wait to use it. And I must say, I didn't realize how good this dark green and brown was going to look together. Even though I have used this exact color combination before, it's just every time I see it I go like, oh, that's so good. It makes me so happy. And I don't know why, because I use brown in my brown and green in general very rarely, but this green is just such a good green. So yeah. And I have finally remembered to do the color dominance thing correctly. So even though the brown is the main color, I am holding the contrasting colors as a dominant color in this color, what's that called again? Stranded color work. Because I want the green and the blue and the green to pop. I want them to be what you see when you see this pattern. I don't want them to fade into the background. I want them to like jump out. And of course the blue turquoise one is very, very jumping out at you. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm kind of thinking like, that's the same color as this one, but a different yarn. And also very similar to this. Apparently I've had a moment with this color. So yeah. But I really like it. It looks so good. And all I want to do is continue working on this one. So yeah. Those are all of my current projects, except for my color pooling blanket. But I haven't worked on that in quite a while. And I'm thinking I'm only going to show that the next time I run out of the skein instead of every time I do a row, because it takes forever. So just showing, hey, I finished another skein is probably more interesting than I did one more row. So yeah. Oh, I'm just, oh, I love it. And I did place a marker here in the middle that indicates the middle of the front, because last time I had a problem with the short rows in the back being skewed when it came to the arms, and I have figured out why that happens. In the pattern, when it tells you when to do the increases before in between these stripes, in some of the sizes you are supposed to knit a few stitches and then start doing the increases, which means you have the increases not evenly spaced. I don't think it matters when it comes to necessarily how the t-shirt in itself looks, and that you have some more increases on one shoulder than the other, because it evens out when you continue knitting. The problem is when this is the middle front, but this is where your round starts. If it tells you to knit these many stitches and you haven't counted for how that changes where you do the increases. I think when they wrote the pattern originally, they told you to knit them evenly spaced, and then you would have some places where you would have extra stitches you had to increase, or just extra stitches you had to knit between the increases to make it all fit in a good way. And instead of writing knit 2 stitches, increase 1, knit 3 stitches, increase 1, and repeat that, or whatever you had to do to make it work, they just said knit 5 or 8 or whatever it was, and then start doing the increases every other or every third stitch. And I do understand why they did that, but that does mean that it does get skewed. So that's why I put in this stitch marker to mark the very front, because the front doesn't shift a lot. So when I do get to the point where I'm going to split for sleeves, I'm going to count how many stitches they want for each arm and for the front and the back, and then adjust it so that I split for sleeves at the correct place. Because I'm pretty certain I'm going to have the same problem with this size as I did with the last size, because both of those sizes have, both the size 1 and size 2 have these knit extra stitches before you start doing increases. And I also think the 2 larger sizes have the same problem. I think there's 2 sizes in between where you're always increasing regularly. I'm guessing that those 2 sizes were the sizes that the pattern designer knit themselves and then didn't think about those extra stitches when it came time to splitting the sleeves later in the other sizes. That's my guess. I obviously haven't written the pattern, so I don't know, but that's what I suspect. And I do think that now that I know that might be a problem, it's a lot easier to avoid it. At least that's what I'm hoping. So yeah. I am very much enjoying this knit. I do like how it fits. Round yoke sweaters fit me quite well. And yeah, in general, I love knitting stripes, I love knitting color work, and this type of color work where everything repeats, very easy to see if you have done anything wrong or not, and also most of the time you just knit 2 of one color and knit 2 of the other color. When you do that, I get into a real flow and I love it. The rest of the pattern is very well written, it's easy to follow, you know exactly what you're doing, no reason to worry at all. Also, the short rows in the neck are optional, which is also a reason why perhaps it gets skewed when you split for sleeves, because that wasn't tested. Who knows? or maybe it was tested but I didn't even realize. That might also happen, because it's not a big difference. Like, there's not that many more rows in the back than the front. A few, but yeah. Anyway, I think that's all. I really love this project, and I really don't want to put it down. So yeah, I'm going to knit on this afterwards. Now, last podcast I said that I hadn't got any new yarn at all in July. Of course that changed. If you've seen my July stash down video, you already know this, but I haven't shown it here. And I'm thinking I should probably be transparent about the fact that I got more yarn even though I wasn't planning on it. And it's because my sister, she's moving into a smaller apartment next year, and she wants to de-stash quite a lot of her things, not just yarn, to make sure that when they move everything will fit and they won't be stressed then, because it is quite stressful to move in general, and having to move into a smaller space and then try to get rid of stuff will not be a good idea. So she asked me to look through some of her boxes, and me and my sister-in-law both looked through, and also my grandma, and I think my mom had already looked through quite a lot. So I already knew my sister-in-law wanted some of the yarn, so I let her pick that out afterwards. And out of all of the yarn I was looking at, most of it was mohair, which I do not use. And I know I don't use mohair, so I just didn't even look at it. But I did find some Drops Baby Alpaca Silk, and I put it in this bag because it was easier to get it home this way. So I have 5 of this purplish color and 2 skeins of this grey beige undetermined color. It looks a lot better in this light than it did when I tried to show it yesterday. Probably because today it's actually overcast, which is very nice. So I got this from my sister, and I did give her a symbolic sum because I don't feel comfortable just giving yarn. But it was a fair trade, I think, at least. But after I picked out this, she was like, but I have 2 other skeins. And I do really think that you need them. They are your color, you need them. And I was like, but I don't use mohair. And she's like, there's no mohair in this at all. This is 90% acrylic and 10% wool or something like that. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I can actually use it. Though I haven't quite figured out what to use it for yet. Clearly. I started trying to knit it up into a small neck scarf, but it is way too fluffy to sticking to itself. I was thinking that if I wore this while I was biking, if I got even slightly hot, it would all just stick to me and I would have a scarf of only fluff and nothing else, even after I took off the scarf. So I'm going to try and find something else to do with it. I do have a few ideas. I was thinking I could hold this with some of my white yarn. As you might see, I have multiple places in here, which are either white or close to white. And I think holding one strand of white with 1 or 2 strands of this, I could make leg warmers or perhaps some kind of gloves or fingerless mittens. Something where I could easily take it off before I got too warm and it lost all its fluff. That's the idea. But I'm not in the mood to use this at the moment. It's still too hot to work on anything that fluffy, which is also why there's a few projects I haven't worked on. But for some reason, even though this is a super warm project, I love it. I can't put it down. But yeah. Okay. Now, this podcast has already been quite long, but I do want to talk about a few of the things that have happened in the past week. Last week was my last week of vacation, and I was a bit worried that I would be very tired today and therefore not be able to have a podcast. So I'm very happy that I'm able to do it. Yeah. Okay. Last week, we had a very calm week, most of it. We did some errands early in the week. I don't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday. But Thursday we went to celebrate my sister's birthday. So we all gathered at the new place where my parents live. We helped them move earlier in the vacation. In case you wondered. So they are all settled, most of the boxes are unpacked, everything important is unpacked, and we just gathered, talked a lot, took a few photos, ate a lot of cake, went through some yarn, and yeah, and I was thinking this is a good end of my vacation, and I still have a weekend where I can recuperate. And for those of you that don't know, I do suffer from chronic illness and do have problems having enough energy to actually live at some point. Yeah. So I was thinking like this have been very exhausting, fun but exhausting, and I now have 3 days to recuperate before I go back to work. That didn't happen because on Friday evening we got a call from my brother-in-law if we could please babysit our nephew, so they would be able to do some errands, and also because they have also moved, so they wanted to unpack more and like get the house in order. So that was quite nice. We did get quite exhausted, but it was fun. We did do a lot of like normal toddler playing. We were running from playground to playground. We were doing like the husker disse. How do you say that in English? Like the swings, and also one of those that just go up and down, which have nearly the same name in Norwegian, but I don't think it's called the same in English. And also the climbing towers and the kind of like slopes you can go down. Clearly there's a lot of playground words I don't know in English. Yeah, and in general there was a lot of running, and I was very happy that I brought my water bottle because we had to refill it twice. And all in all, having a toddler running around and trying to use up their energy, that was... And sometimes I think he was playing more with us than we with him, to be honest. And after some time when we had been out for quite a while, it started raining, so we went back to their new home. And I'm very happy when we got there because his mother was gone with her mother out for dinner or maybe lunch, I'm not sure. Early dinner, late lunch. Yeah. And I'm very glad that she got that break and that my brother-in-law was the one that was staying home and unpacking and trying to like get things organized. And he was also very happy that we had at least tried to use up all of the energy for my nephew. And we kept playing indoors in the house a few hours more. But at some point we had to like throw in the towel. We were too exhausted. So when they were having kind of like dinner, I guess, early dinner, we just left for home. We were planning on going to a restaurant on the way home, but we were too tired to sit at the restaurant, so we just went home instead. So I really do still crave ramen, but that was gonna have to wait until this weekend or next weekend perhaps. Maybe I can convince my husband to do it tomorrow, maybe. I don't think so. Doing it right after work is a lot more exhausting than doing it in the weekend or when you have vacation. So yeah. Plans for this week are a bit different, because today was my first day back to work after vacation. I was afraid I was going to be very tired, but I think I've just been confused all day because I do still have a lot of mental energy. I was trying to figure out what I had done 3 weeks ago, and I haven't figured out what I did at all. No idea. I will figure it out probably tomorrow or the day after, and then I will be able to actually use my brain again. But yeah, in the meantime, I feel really good today. Today is a really good day. I was able to bike to and from work. I was able to actually get through a whole work day without having to leave early or having to like do some of the work in the evening, because I wasn't able to do all in one go. And yeah, I in general just feel very good. And depending on how much time I use editing this video, which is probably going to take quite a while it's uploading, I'm hoping to not be too late in the evening, so I can actually go to the gym, which I haven't done in quite a while. And I will try and avoid overexerting myself, because then I will end up too tired tomorrow to do anything. But I am very happy that this vacation has clearly worked, because now I have more energy. I do have the need and want to be active again. And clearly, even though I haven't biked a lot during my vacation, the few bike rides I have done have helped on my conditioning and has helped in my love for biking in general. So yeah, I feel very good. I hope this continues. I hope that I can finally get a little bit better. Crossing fingers and toes and everything. Knock on wood, all of that. Actually, I forgot to say one more thing. Because I have a few more acquisitions, I'm not going to list them in the description, because these are kind of more like knickknacks, I guess. I found this little cute ring where you can put the thread between, yarn between, when you're doing color work, and I was hoping that it would solve some of my problems, but I think I'm just going to continue with what I have done, which is hold one strand continental, and the one that's non-dominant, I just loop it over when I'm using it. It works very well when you have an even distribution of colors. This I think I will use more when you don't do that, because if you only use the continental one once and then you have to do like 3 or 4 with the contrasting color, and you do that a lot, then you do the English style knitting a lot, and I don't enjoy that. So I think perhaps that will be a good solution for when I do a different type of color work. Still very neat though. I find it very fun to just open and close it. And I'm trying to avoid doing it too much, because then I will probably accidentally destroy it. Yeah. I also have a plan with the other yarn, not with the Drops Baby Alpaca. I'm going to knit some baby onesies, and I did buy a few snaps to be able to attach the bottom. So you can have one of those onesies where you pull them over their head and then it snaps at the diaper, I guess. So that when you need to change the child, you don't have to pull it over their head. You can just open and pull it up and then change the child and pull it down again. It's one of the types of clothing that are very normal here in Norway. And I do think knitted one in something as soft as baby alpaca and silk probably will be very appreciated. I do think, I did find a pattern, and I do think I have enough yarn to knit at least 2, maybe 3 onesies, and that means that there will be a lot of onesies going around. So I did buy enough snaps for 4, though I don't think I'm going to use all of them. The reason why I bought enough for 4 is because the alternative was buying only enough for 2, and I didn't want that, so yeah. There's 2 other things I want to show. I found this needle holder, which I just must admit I found it ingenious, because it's magnetic, which means I can open it all the way up and the needles don't fall out because they're like sticking to the magnet down here. And this makes it so much easier to find the needles that I need. I don't think I'm going to bring this when I'm traveling, because I'm pretty certain that I'm not allowed to bring needles on planes. But this means that I don't need to keep looking for my needles all the time, because I misplace them everywhere. They're just laying on a table or in a jar or something, and I just can't find them because they're tiny and I can't see them. So yeah, I'm very happy with this purchase. I love it. I used it so much already. The other one, I finally bought myself a darning mushroom. And this is for darning socks. You just pull the sock that you need to darn outside of this one, so you get a nice and flat surface to work on. And then you just do the darning, and you don't have to like sit there and try to make sure that the stitches are nice and even, because you're just doing it in your hand or on a flat surface. This one makes it so much easier, and it does have this little handle, but if you don't want it, you can just detach it. So yeah, I love this one. It's super cute and I can't wait to use it. I already have a pair of socks that I'm going to try and darn, or at least I'm going to wash them, dry them, and see if they need darning. And I do have a pair of socks that I'm just finished that I have to block. I'm not going to use that for this one, but I'm just thinking I can do the washing of the socks with the blocking of the new ones. Yeah, all in all, I'm very happy. Okay, I've been talking way too much, and to be honest, I don't think you necessarily care that much about this super cute darning mushroom, I guess. But yeah. I'm going to try and make sure I list all of the projects and all of the yarns in the description. If I miss anything, just let me know and I will edit it, or at least give you the information you're wondering about. I did, at some point a few weeks ago, get a message, and I can't find the message again, where they asked about something specific when it came to my yarn. And I cannot find the message again. Oh, I know, actually, it's probably the same thing as last time I got a message I couldn't find. It's probably Instagram, because I don't use Instagram a lot. So I haven't checked those messages in a while. I will try and find the message, and if you don't hear from me, just message me again. Either comment under this video is probably the easiest way, or send me a message on Ravelry. I'm usually at least looking at some patterns in there, so I get a notification that someone has messaged me. So yeah, I'm very sorry I haven't responded. I completely forgot that I even use Instagram. It happens. Maybe I should post a few pictures on Instagram because it has been quite a while. Yeah, we'll see. Thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.